After 7 long months of testing my bot through some of the most intense periods in crypto's history, including the collapse of FTX, my bot strategy has gotten to a point where it currently makes me over $5,000 a month passively, which is absolutely insane. You know, I'm referring to what I call the Ghost Tiger strategy, a custom grid bot that is battle tested and shown to stand strong even at the depths in the worst of the bear market. In this video, I'm gonna share my journey using this bot over the last 7 months and exactly how much I've made. And for the first time ever, I'm gonna share some details, a little bit of insight into how this bot actually works. I won't be giving away exact settings, but I will give details so that other people can build their own custom versions of this same type of bot. I'm also going to be doing an update on some of the other bot strategies that I've been testing. Some I've been testing for a really long time now, and some have been doing really, really good. And one of these new strategies is actually performing better than I've ever had any bot perform. So a lot of you guys have been following along since the beginning as I've tested this bot strategy over the last 7 months. But for those of you who haven't, here's a really brief recap of what's happened over the last 7 months. I deposited $86,532 into this bot 7 months ago. Obviously, that is a ridiculous amount of money, but I was comfortable depositing it into this bot strategy because for me, this bot strategy is relatively low risk. I know how it works. I understand what I'm getting into. I understand the downsides, risks, and the upside potential. And for me, it's what I consider a relatively low risk strategy. So I was comfortable putting a lot of money into this strategy because I wanted the passive income potentially that this strategy would generate. Month 1, I made a staggering $7,013, or about 7.72% in a single month. And to put that in context, like most people in the stock market, they're looking like 7% is what you make in a year. So to make that in a single month was like jaw-dropping for me. And I was like, wow, this thing really has a lot of potential. Or if you want to imagine this a little bit differently, if you had $10,000 a month making 7% monthly, you'd be making $700 a month, which is amazing. $10,000 a month is like, people spend that on like a dirt bike or something like that. And instead of spending it on a dirt bike, you could put it into a strategy like this and make $700 a month, which for some people, that's like, 2 of their car payments, or that's a good amount of money to be making passively. Or in the same kind of vein of thought, with just $45,000, you could be making $3,000 a month. So $45,000, that's like the price of like a pickup truck. So people go out and they'll buy these like big old pickup trucks for $45,000. Obviously they're making payments on that generally, but sometimes people pay cash for that. And instead of doing that, somebody could go and say, hey, I'm going to put $45,000 in this strategy, and now I don't have to work. I don't need to have a job because I make $3,000 a month passively. That's the potential, or that's like how insanely powerful 7% a month is. And so obviously with it being that overpowered, I did not expect like long-term for this bot to be able to continually pump out 7% a month. That's insane. I knew that was like, in my mind, I was like, this is a fluke month. This must be a fluke month. This is extraordinary result, and it's not going to upkeep this sort of level of performance long term. Fast forward 4 months into testing this bot. And over that 4-month period, because of the different ups and downs and the performance of those 4 months, the 7% monthly had averaged out to about 2% monthly, which obviously 7% monthly is like, wow, this is like holy grail status, like monthly income coming from this bot. 2% monthly is still ridiculously insane. 2% a month, not including compounding, is 24% a year. And if the average person is making 6 to 10% in the stock market, that's like beating the average stock market investor by over double. So that's an insanely good result. And I was very, very happy with the 2% a month. And this meant that roughly I was making $1,700 a month off of my $86,000 investment. And another important piece of information that kind of puts this all in context is around this exact time is when the collapse of FTX had happened, and we are going through all of that. So despite the collapse of FTX, despite the crypto markets just absolutely dumping, I was making around 2% a month. So this is kind of like, in my mind, this is the worst case scenario. This is like the apocalypse in crypto, and I'm still averaging 2% a month. And if this strategy did that well during one of the worst and most turbulent times in crypto's entire history of existence, then how would this strategy perform in like a full-blown bull market was what I was thinking. And over the next couple months, although I didn't get to see how this bot performs in a full-blown bull run, I did get to see how it performed in a generally good, positive up season. After the collapse of FTX, the market got to a point where, in my opinion, all the sellers had sold. So like, imagine you're a seller in the crypto space and you went through the collapse of Luna, you went through like just the in general down season of 2022. And then when you're like at peak, like this just sucks. Then FTX absolutely collapses and the whole market just dumps. You lose all hope, all like potential for the future of crypto in your mind is just out the door. And so you finally capitulate and you sell. In my opinion, that's what happened in November. The last of the sellers finally capitulated, and that left the market with no more sellers. All the people that were like the weak hands in the market left. And it only left it with the people who are optimistic about the future of crypto. You gotta imagine if everything that happened in 2022 and the collapse of FTX didn't cause someone to sell, what's left that would cause them to sell? And this is what, in my opinion, caused a run up in prices in the crypto market, pushing Bitcoin from $15,000 to $25,000 and pushing ETH from $1,000 to over $1,700, as well as in general, the entire market went up. Meaning again, that I got to see the bot and how it performed when the market was doing pretty good. So fast forward to today, month 7. The total profit from the bot to date is $35,983 or $5,140 a month on average over a 7-month period. That means that over 7 months, this strategy has averaged 6% a month. And if you don't understand how that works, when I was just saying, some of the months it was 2%, some of the months it was 7%, the way it works is you take all 7 months and you take up the average percentage gain of all those months and you average it out. And if you do that, you get the number 6%, which means after 7 months, we're pretty on par with my first example. If you had $50,000, which is the cost of like a nice pickup truck or maybe like an RV, and you invested it into this bot, you'd be making $3,000 a month. So instead of like saying, hey, I want a nice pickup truck, you could say, hey, I don't ever want to have to work again. And so I'm going to invest it into something like this. Obviously, that carries its own risks. I'm not telling anyone to do that. I'm just pointing out how impactful or how powerful 6% a month can be. And for me, the coolest part or like the craziest part of this whole thing is that's not like 1 month of testing or 2, that's 7 months of real world testing in a really hostile market, in the bear market and the worst part of the bear market. And still, despite all of that, it's been averaging 6% a month, which is amazing and just shows this strategy really works and it really works well. And really quick, before I get into actually how this bot works, a little later in this video, I'm gonna be sharing the results from a couple other strategies I've been testing, including a brand new strategy that has been performing really, really well. And you're definitely gonna wanna stick around to check those out. All right, so how does this bot work exactly? Well, first off, I used a platform called Bitsgap to actually create this bot. And I have an affiliate link in the description if you're interested in checking it out. And I've tested other platforms to create a strategy like this using the exact same settings. And out of all the different platforms that I've tested, so far, Bitsgap has given me the best results and it's been the easiest platform to work with. And this type of strategy is called a grid bot trading strategy. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of it. And maybe even some of you guys have tried grid bot strategies and not gotten good results. And the way I like to explain it is like a grid bot is more like a tool. And like the settings you use with that tool and the way that you maneuver that tool is how you get the good results. And so a lot of people, they'll just plug in, the tool, they'll turn it on, they won't get good results. They'll be like, this thing doesn't work. And really it's not that the tool doesn't work, but it's that you're probably using it wrong. And because you're not using it the right way and you don't have the correct settings and you don't have it set up and you don't have your risk management done well, you're not getting good results. In the same way that some people can get on a snowboard and fall on their face and say, this thing doesn't work. And other people can get on a snowboard and just fly through the air and be doing backflips and grinding on rails and all kinds of stuff. And obviously they use it to a greater degree. And the way this type of strategy works is it makes money when there's volatility in the markets. And in crypto, obviously there is loads of volatility. And that's why this strategy is so effective in the crypto space. Basically, this thing makes a lot of money when prices go up and down a lot. The bot buys as prices go down, then it sells as prices go back up, and then it buys again as prices go back down, and so on and so forth. Meaning, if you buy Bitcoin at $20,000 and it goes down to $15,000, and then it goes back up to $20,000 again, you now have more money than you originally started with with because the bot profited off of that volatility. And the more times that it bounces around like that, the more money that you end up making. In fact, even if it never makes it back to the original amount you invested at, or even if it never makes it back to $20,000 Bitcoin, if it bounces around enough, you'll still end up making money. It doesn't have to go back to that $20,000 mark. It's making money each time it goes up and down. Now, of course, the big risk here is that prices simply go down and never come back up. And obviously that'd be a risk with any investment. Anything you invest into, if the price just goes down and never goes back up, you obviously cannot make money in that investment. But that's also kind of like the key to why my formula and strategy has worked so well. The reason I feel like this is so low risk and the way I hedge my risk with this strategy is I only choose assets to use this grid bot strategy on that I have full confidence will be at a higher price than they are at the time I start the bot 2 years from now, 3 years from now, or so on. For example, do you believe Bitcoin will be higher than $24,000 2 years from now? And if the answer is yes, like you have just deep conviction, like absolutely Bitcoin will be higher than $24,000 2 years from now, then Bitcoin potentially is a pretty safe asset for you to use with this sort of grid bot strategy. Because even if it goes down to $10,000 or $1,000 or $500 or something crazy like that, you know that in the future, you have full confidence that it's gonna go above 24,000, maybe to 50,000, maybe to 100,000. And so you're picking assets that you feel comfortable with, that you know really well, and that you're like, hey, I know in the future this asset is going to be worth more than it is today. So I pick a range of assets that I have high conviction in will be at a higher price 2 years from now than they are today. And this is where I believe most people go way off the rails with these types of strategies. They see these insane gains that other people are making off of these really small cap, really risky crypto projects. And so they decide, man, why would I want to make like 3% or 4% a month with, this really boring, more safe asset when I can be making like 30% or 500% with this really risky, really small asset? And while it's true, yes, in some cases you can make bigger gains with these riskier assets, the risk goes up like exponentially. You don't know that these small cap, really risky cryptos will even exist in 2 years. And so when you're doing that, if the price goes down, there's a chance that it never does go back up, it never does recover, and you're never able to make your money back. My self-control and ability to stay away from these more risky plays is what I believe what has allowed me to succeed so well with this type of strategy. The second element that makes the strategy work so well is the actual settings. And like I said, I'm not gonna give away the specific projects I'm using for my bots, and I'm not going to give away the specific settings that I use for my bots, but I'm going to give you a general idea on my type of thinking and the way that I built this bot and why I built it the way I built it. And that should help you build your own custom bot if that's something you're interested in. And the key to the settings is understanding how the grid actually works. The way that you build your grid shows fundamentally your belief on the future of what's going to happen in the market. If you have more green lines on the bottom, you're hedging your risk to the downside. You're worried that prices could dip lower and you want to be able to capitalize on that dip. If there are more red lines on the upside, you're nervous that prices are going to move up too quickly and you're wanting to be prepared to sell into that and turn a profit. So the way you structure your grid is the strategy you're choosing, and that's why some people succeed and some people fail. It's because some people fundamentally know when it's riskier and they hedge to the downside, and then other people fundamentally know when it's less risky and they hedge to the upside. And if you're able to do that well often, you're going to be able to make a lot of money with a strategy like this. And the last point I want to hit on is capital size. It's really important that you pay attention to how much capital you're using with a strategy like this. The more money you use, the less concerned fees are in the actual subscription to something like Bitscam. But the less money you use, the more you have to watch fees, and you got to watch that subscription price, because if you're not making enough to cover your subscription and your fees, well then obviously you don't want to be doing the strategy. Grid bots are a pretty simple strategy on the surface, but the way that you use them and the strategies you build around them is what can be really complex. And it's definitely something you don't want to underestimate, and you want to make sure you take the time to understand before you're getting into. And how much effort you put into learning these things and understanding them is going to be the difference between you making money and you losing money. Okay, so let's take a look at the 4 other strategies that I've been testing and how well they've been performing. Let's start with Astrobit's Cinnamon Toast strategy. This one's a paid strategy on Astrobit. I've been using it for about 2 months now, and so far I've averaged around 2.25% a month. I haven't yet recorded results for month 3, and that's where I'm looking for some bigger results, so we'll see what happens as time goes on. Next up is KuCoin. This one I've been testing for 6 6 months in its KuCoin's free GridBot tool. I wanted to see how much of a difference there really was between a paid tool like Bitsgap and a free tool like KuCoin's GridBot tool. So I put $5,000 into this strategy and I tested it. And I set it up with essentially the exact same settings I used for the Ghost Tiger strategy, or at least as close as I could get it. There were some settings that Bitsgap has that KuCoin didn't have, so I wasn't able to get it exactly the same, but I got it as close as I, possibly could. And despite having near identical settings, for the first 4 months, this bot only lost money. Not a huge amount. By month 4, the bot was only down $31, but still, while the other bot was making money, this bot wasn't making the same, it wasn't getting the same results. But fast forward to month 6 and things have finally turned around a bit. Currently, I'm sitting at a profit of $657.54 using KuCoin's GridBot, or about 2.1% averaged out over 6 months. So while it's doing decent, it's still not performing nearly as good as the Bitsgap version. Still, it's a really good free alternative for those who can't do Bitsgap for whatever reason. Next up is Stoic. Stoic is a hybrid AI product that's been around since 2016. They have an incredible team of data scientists that have been trying to accomplish the huge undertaking of creating an AI that can trade better than the average person. I've talked about the company syndicator behind Stoic a lot before, so I'm not gonna go into a ton of detail, but suffice to say they're trying to do a really hard thing. They've been making some decent progress, and I've been following their journey since 2016. Really interested to see if they can, obviously if they end up doing it, then that's a tool that I want to own. And I've been testing Stoic's basic strategy during the bear market, and more recently testing their brand new Stoic Meta strategy, which is supposed to be the culmination of everything they've been working on so far and the successor to the original Stoic strategy. First, let's talk about the original Stoic strategy. Month 1 testing Stoic was amazing. I deposited $5,020 into Stoic and made $411 or 8% in a single month. Month 2, however, was not so kind. The market tanked and so did Stoic. I lost $1,130 or negative 22% during month 2. Month 3, Stoic was able to recover a bit and was only down 11%. In month 4, Stoic did really well, and I'm now sitting back at a profit, with my total being $5,595, which means on average I've made about 2.75% per month. And my general takeaway after 4 months of using Stoic during the bear market is that Stoic does really well when the market's going up. So when the market's doing good, Stoic's gonna outperform the market in general. So if you're like somebody who doesn't know anything about crypto and you really don't even know what to invest into, this is like a good product for a person like that. They put their money into Stoic, and if the market goes up and they're right about the market going up, they're gonna make a lot of money. But if the market goes down, they're still gonna lose money. In some cases, they might lose less than the general market loses. But regardless, Stoic is not gonna stop you from losing money. You're gonna still lose money if the market goes down. Next up is Stoic Meta, which again is the successor to the original Stoic strategy. They took everything they learned. They took everything that they've been, honing over the last couple of years, and they put it all into this brand new strategy. And a quick disclosure, because I'm a US based investor and you have to use Stoic Meta with the Binance normal exchange, you can't use it with the Binance US exchange, I wasn't able to access this strategy. On top of that, the strategy is actually in beta, so only a handful of selected users even get access to the strategy. And Syndicator pitched me this idea of funding an account on my behalf. So they said, we'll put $30,000 into this Binance account. You can keep any profit it makes above $30,000. They didn't make me sign anything saying I had to say certain things or I wasn't allowed to say certain things. They didn't even make me sign anything saying I had to make any sort of video or even ask me to make any sort of video. In fact, I didn't sign anything. There's no sort of documentation whatsoever. They just did this because they've been following my videos for a long time and I guess they just trusted me. And the reason I'm disclosing this is because as somebody who's watching my channel, you should know about it, because if that's present, there could definitely be some sort of bias. And it's important to know those things as you're like watching and seeing the results of how I'm doing this. Obviously on my end, I always try to take these experiments and just give the accurate, honest results. Even when they're boring, even when I lose money, I just try to give you the exact results. And I don't plan on doing anything different when it comes to Stoic Meta. Anyways, I've been using Stoic Meta for only a single month. They claim using backtesting that no single asset in the top 200 of all cryptos would have outperformed the Stoic Meta strategy, which is a pretty bold claim to make. They also say that the Stoic Meta strategy is actually made up of over 200 sub-strategies, and that each of these sub-strategies is assigned a weight by the algorithm depending on market conditions. Lastly, they also claim that it's much lower risk than traditional crypto investing. In fact, they say that had the Stoic Meta strategy been deployed during this last period of the bear market, while Bitcoin was down 76%, the Stoic Stoic Meta strategy would have only been down 9%. All those claims are pretty bold claims to make, but if true, are actually pretty dang insane. Anyways, to get to the results, originally they deposited $30,000 into a Binance account, and then they deployed the Stoic Meta strategy by plugging it into the API of the Binance account. If you're not familiar with how like normal Stoic works, that's how it works. You're never giving over your funds to Syndicator or Stoic. They always stay in your own Binance account, and it's all managed via API. And today, just 1 month later, that $30,000 is worth a staggering $41,969, which is a 39% gain in a single month, and easily one of the most mind-blowing results I've ever gotten. And I will say that I can verify the results are authentic. There's nothing they're doing or can be doing to make it so that I could be getting better than average results. They gave me the access info, so I'm able to log into the exchange and see the gains, and I can verify that there's no like weird activity where they're like depositing extra funds or anything like that. But this has also been a great past month for crypto in general. And if you would have just put your money into ETH in the exact same time period, you'd have actually made around 35%. So when you zoom out, it's actually not quite as impressive as it first appears, as you're only making 4% more than had you simply held ETH. Still, that's only 1 month of testing, and as I say all the time, 1 month of testing doesn't really give you a feel for how a certain strategy or certain experiment actually is going to end up working out. And if it's able to continually and consistently make those small gains over the general market, then those can add up over time and compound into much bigger gains. We'll see how this strategy performs long term, but I'm certainly excited to see what happens. And that's it. If you want to check out Bitsgap or Stoic, I have affiliate links in the description below. Also, completely separate from this, I have a Patreon where I put out monthly research reports. If you're interested in checking that out, that's also in the description. As always, none of this is investment advice. None of this is me telling you that you should try any of these different things that I'm trying or do any of these different things that I'm doing. These are just experiments that I've been doing on my own journey, and I'm sharing the results with you, and I'm hoping that information is useful or helpful. If this video has been helpful, make sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments or anything you want to add, let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, or you want to see the future results of all these experiments, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and you got to also hit the little bell next to it if you want to be notified each time I release a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.